And so this officer comes up my passenger side, and sure enough, it's police. He opens my door. The passenger side screams at me. He's furious.
Mm.
He's furious. He's telling me to bring, your license, your registration, and all that. He slammed the door hard enough. I'm gonna. I'll give you this much information. I'm in a Kenworth T680,
Right.
and it's a relatively new one. It's a big truck. The whole truck moves. He slammed the door that hard.
Now, are they
So,
even allowed to like open up your door like that?
amen. Registration, all that on his hood. So I reached back for my wallet to give him
Right.
my license because he license, and then he just jumps back screaming something about like weapon, don't pull a weapon on me. I'm like, I'm just everything's already going out of control. I'm like, what are you talking about? I screamed back at
Whoa.
him. I raised my voice. I'm like, bro, my phone. This would have led to
Dang.
anyway. The whole point is when I finally just agreed with him, say, yeah, look, yeah, sure, you were behind me. Yeah, thanks. I mean, not thanks, but look, whatever. Sorry, you were back there. And once I said that, he said, that's enough. I have enough. I'm like, okay. More confused. He's like, you are now under arrest. For what? And he's like, you're going to struggle? I'm like, no, no. Whatever.
With everything, do you still have your CDL? Are you still driving?
I do still have my CDL, but I'm not this. I'm not driving. I'm doing little odds and ends because
You can't have a
literally
job with this. So,
this I no bro. I'm on the street. I live with my fiance in a hatchback out on the street. I'm homeless.
you're
I've been
homeless
home.
as of right now?
Yes.
So, when did this happen? Can you hear me, mother trucker?
Yes, sir. I can hear you. You hear me good?
Good, good, good. Welcome to the show. We're going to keep this anonymous. Um, Mother truckers, if you have any issues at all, or you want to help truck drivers out, jump on, reach out to me at the asianmyshow at gmail.com. Just like our Mother Trucker subscriber here. We're not going to give specifics. We just need your help. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so we're not going to give too much detail, but what happened in your situation, brother?
All right. Just in summary, what happened with me is close to a year ago. I was um I was out on the road. I was on the interstate, and actually, before I get into that, I've done I've driven in trucking, dry van, and reefer mostly for around 7 years or so. I've been all 48 states multiple
Mm,
times. It's been my main profession and career. I started out as a company driver, done some time as Dollar General, unloading a lot of trailers, and anybody that's done that, it's not very fun.
yeah.
And then I got into becoming a owner operator, and then things happened with that, and I ended up getting into a different company with getting a lease truck, which was still an owner operator position. And I've personally done over 700,000 miles myself, completely accident free, safe. Relatively clean record. I had a speeding ticket in California, going downhill, up on the northern part, coming out of Oregon and whatnot. I'm sure everybody gets one of those once in a while. Other than that, I mean, that's a little bit of what I've done. But this particular night, it was close to midnight. This happened around 11:55 p.m. at night, and I was on interstate, cruising along, and I had come up behind another truck like I've done a million times before. This particular truck, it was my lease truck. I was an owner operator. It was governed at 70 miles an hour. The area I was at, the speed limit was 75 miles an hour. So this truck was probably going 55, I mean 65, 68. So he was going a little slower than me, and no big deal. Check my left lane. It was dark. It just seen me. I just seen me, the other truck. And I went around them like any other day, a million times that I've done before.
Right.
And I passed him with no problems. And it wasn't particularly fast. And also, it was a bit windy that night. And as the wind goes, it pushes you around once in a while. And you're not trying to whip it back and forth. And sometimes you leave the lane a little bit. It happens.
Yep.
Everybody does it, even whether you got a trailer or a car. or anything, and that's important in the situation that quickly unfolds afterward. So as with any other time as driving a truck, I'm I give a little bit of courtesy as I pass another truck. I don't just immediately jump right in front of their bumper. I give it a little bit of extra time, and I hadn't seen nobody around. It looked like it was just us two. So I didn't immediately jump right back into the right lane. I'm in the left lane for a little bit of time. I'm about to turn on my turn signal, double check. I always double check anyway. I'm about to, and as this happens, really bright spotlights come on behind me somewhere. And for a second or two, I even wondered, is it a helicopter, is it an airplane, or very
Wow,
bright,
that's super bright then.
super, super bright, and so much so, like I'm partially blinded and having to put my hand at the mirror or mirrors. I'm trying to figure out where. So several seconds go by. I'm trying to get my bearing. I'm trying to figure out what's going on here. And I'm figuring it takes me a second. I'm trying to look and kind of block the glare. And also, I wear glasses,
Yeah,
and
me
at
too.
that time, I hadn't had time. I had been going through some rough times, so I hadn't even able to fix my glasses. My glasses were dirty, and there was even cracks in my glasses. So everything's reflecting off my mirrors, the windshield. You know, sometimes your mirrors aren't even all that completely clear.
Yeah.
So this is reflecting off everything. It was incredibly bright, and so I didn't make no immediate moves, and I'm making sure I'm not trying to drive down the center medium off the interstate. It's so bright, and it just stayed put. I let about 10, 11 seconds go by. I'm trying to see what is this person, because this happens sometimes. I'm sure it happens to you or other
Yeah.
truckers. If someone comes up behind you and you're in the left lane, they might hit their high beams and be like, "Hey, like get out of the way. I'm trying to shoot up the left lane." You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
usually, most people, rational people, would do this for a second or two, or maybe leave it on in enough time. Be like, "All right, cool. Let me hit that blinker. I'm gonna go over. No problem. I don't even care. I'm trying to be in the right lane anyway. I just passed somebody, so I'm on my way back there. It's not a big deal. I figured this might be a situation like that. There was no move of this vehicle to leave the left lane. It's just sitting there continually blinding me.
Mm.
So I'm like, all right, cool. You know, I can't completely see behind me very well because it's close enough that I did not see the vehicle at all. That's how close this vehicle was. Because, you know, you got almost 40, 50 feet behind you. It's a blind spot. Any truck driver knows this. And most people with any kind of common sense would know this, that if you can't see the mirrors on the vehicle, then they more than
Right.
likely can't see you. And this was close enough. They got out onto the line, onto nearly on the close to the smaller shoulder on the interstate in order to get those lights down on my driver's side. And I'm thinking like I'm pulling a load. I'm pulling a load that's worth some money. I'm like a lot of thoughts are going through my head. Is like, is this person trying to make me crash? Are they after my truck? Are they after me? Is this a road rage incident or something? You know, and I had my CB on. No one was talking. That one truck I had just passed, I know he's back there behind me somewhere, so I can't just be like slamming my brakes or doing anything, or because there's a whole nother truck and trailer at least a minute or two or far less than that behind me, going at least 65 plus, and I'm still holding 70 maintaining speed on
Yeah.
flat ground. So I'm thinking in the few seconds, the safest thing I can do. So go ahead and turn on my blinker, check that right lane as best I can. They're not coming around, they're sitting there. I'm like, all right, so I'm gonna turn on my blinker and I'm just gonna slowly move and try to block this light as I move over. All right. So I slowly move over. I get into the right lane. To my surprise, red lights turn on.
Cops.
And I'm like, is this a police officer? I'm
That's
I'm on
scary.
I'm confused, man. I'm confused. I don't know what's going on. I'm like, is this a real police officer? Is this a joke? So I didn't immediately just drop in the shoulder. I'm trying to look up, like, all right, cool. Like, thinking about this for a second here. Like, what's
Yeah.
going on? What's going on? All right.
Right.
So as I'm looking up, there's an exit ramp coming up. All right, cool. So I come across, I slow down.
Right.
So my blinker's still on. I cut a little early, cut across. You know, it's not a dirt median, but you know, you just got those lines on the ground. I
Yeah.
cut across all the way through there, get all the way on the shoulder. So I'm like, I'm off the interstate, you know, and then I pull my truck, I pull the brakes,
Right.
shut the truck off, unlock the doors. My heart's, I don't know what's going on. So I'm sitting here waiting. I'm like, and I still see red lights flashing. And at this point, I don't even know if he ever shut off these bright spotlights. And if you see typical, it was an SUV style. You see that big round circle that they usually have on their driver's side. As
Yeah.
far as I believe, that was on, and also the white lights on the top were on. And so this officer comes up my passenger side, and sure enough, it's police. He opens my door. The passenger side screams at me. He's furious.
Mm.
He's furious. He's telling me to bring, your license, your registration, and all that. He slammed the door hard enough. I'm gonna. I'll give you this much information. I'm in a Kenworth T680,
Right.
and it's a relatively new one. It's a big truck. The whole truck it moves. He slammed the door that hard.
Now, are they
So,
even allowed to like open up your door like that?
amen, amen. Like,
You know, because I
good
would be
question.
pissed if someone I know, like when I'm at a rest area or something like that, and they're trying to, wake me up to move, they could
Yep.
knock on my door all they
Uh,
want. But this guy opened your passenger door and said
yes.
license, registration, and then slammed the door. Okay,
Yep.
so what happens after this?
So I get it. I grab my booklet. I got all my paperwork in a booklet. I'm like I'm even more confused. All right, there's a cop. He's blinding me,
Mm,
and like it's definitely some kind of cop. I see him, badge, gun,
right,
all the whole thing. So I grab. I'm walking.
right,
So I'm walking back. I'm walking back there, and he's standing right there at the tail of my trailer, by the hood of his vehicle. So I set my registration, all that, on his hood. So I reach back for my wallet to give him
right.
my license, because he license, and then he just jumps back screaming something about like weapon, don't pull a weapon on me. I'm like, I'm just everything's already going out of control. I'm like, what are you talking about? I scream back at
Whoa,
him. I raise my voice. I'm like, bro, like, what is this? Then he's like, why do you think I pulled you? What are you doing? I'm like, I'm getting my license, bro. Like, I'm not. There's respect is gone. I'm not calling you officer
and,
or sir. I'm like, bro, stop, like, chill. Like,
and where
there's
was
no.
this at? Is this in front of his cop car at this point?
Yeah,
His cop SUV?
yes, right at his hood. So we're all,
Whoa,
we're all coming down. We're all tense, and then so I lay my wallet on there, license. It's all placed on his head. He looks down on it, and then he's like, what's happening here? And I'm like, I don't
whoa.
know. I don't know. He said, what, are you confused? I'm like, yeah. I was honestly like, no, I'm confused. I don't know what's going on here, and I'm tense. I'm super tense. What is happening? And he's like, you tried to take my life. You just tried to kill me. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Whoa. He's
You
saying
tried to take my.
so okay, so back up just a quick second. So when you're going back to get your wallet, was he like backed up and hand on his piece right away?
Yeah. Yep.
Did
Yep.
he take it out or he just had
No.
hand on it?
Nah. He just hand on it, and he took like two steps back. He didn't
Whoa.
draw
And
it. He put it, and I'm just. This guy is like, he is tensed up, and he's talking about me trying to take his life, and I'm like I'm pulling out my wallet. He's like, no, 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 you're this right here. He pointed at my truck and my trailer. Yeah, you see this right here? Yeah, you see this? I'm like, what? The truck? He's like, yeah, you see right there? He's like, all right, so you're king of the road. And he goes on this thing about berating me and just trying to like belittle me and cut me down. And he's saying like I'm out like trying to fly people off the road. He gets on an analogy about, he gets in several different things. And then early on in the conversation, he points at the vehicle and he says, I can articulate this into an assault with a deadly weapon.
that's
And I'm
crazy.
like, I'm looking at him like, what are you talking about? And he's like, don't play stupid. I'm like, I'm like seriously confused right
What
now. I
and you
don't know.
got nothing on you, right?
I got nothing. Nothing.
Whoa. So okay, fast forward now. Uh
So,
what does he give you a ticket for?
oh, it's not even a ticket. It's worse. We get into which probably sunk me kind of, but I don't believe it for a second, because I don't believe it's legal in any fashion, is that he kept threatening me over and over again. He said, I can make this look like this or that or blah, blah, blah. So finally, look, it turned in, he just wanted a dick measuring contest. He just wanted to make me feel
Sheesh.
bad. So you know what? I was like, fine. You don't like me or whatever. That's no big deal. I'm like, you can
Right.
just not like me or whatever. And he's like, so you seen me back there? You see me behind you? I was like, yeah,
Right.
you're behind me. I agree. Like you were back there, and then I pointed at his lights. I'm like, you're blinding me. You're blinding me. And he's like, so and one of my statements was, I'm going to talk to the attorney about that because when he said, I can articulate this until this is making what it looks like. That's his
Right.
words. And I'm
That's
standing in front of his squad car. You can clearly hear his words and my words. And
so
and
where
what
are
it
we?
led to,
What has led to it now? Where are we at now
it,
with it? So we could get people to help
we're
you with this.
we're led to where it led to on that is when I gave up, and this went back and forth for nearly 20 minutes.
That's
Is
crazy.
mid It's midnight. It's midnight. We're out here on the interstate, and there's nobody else with me. In fact, to just think that he's a decent human being, I didn't even bring my phone with me, and that was a huge mistake. I wish I could have just recorded it or actually called 911 at that point. But I looked back at my truck. I didn't have my phone. This would have led to
Dang.
anyway. The whole point is when I finally just agreed with him, say, yeah, look, yeah, sure, you were behind me. Yeah, thanks. I mean, not thanks, but look, whatever. Sorry, you were back there. And once I said that, he said, that's enough. I have enough. I'm like, okay. More confused. He's like, you are now under arrest. For what? And he's like, you're going to struggle? I'm like, no, no, whatever. So I laid my head down. He yells at me again. Yeah, don't struggle. Don't struggle. Don't fight me. And I just looked at him blankly, turned my head like, what is, I don't even know. And he laid my head down on the hood, and I was under arrest. And I don't know what was going on. And I was put back there. They called a wrecker, another unit, to come and take my truck and trailer. And
Jesus.
not
So
in. So I'm confused. Nearly 5 hours later, sitting in a holding jail cell, did he hand me? He actually came 5 hours later, close to. It was like 4 hours and 40 minutes or something like that. He came and sat down and he read me my rights. And I'm looking at him. And he's like, "You got anything else to say?" I was like, "Nope, nothing." And he gave me the paperwork, and this would have said. He charged me. He even said he called the DA, the district attorney, that evening to suggest the charges he should charge me with. The very top one he charged me with was assault with a deadly weapon, reckless driving, driving on the wrong side of the road, failure to yield to the right of way of another vehicle, and failure to maintain lane. This is the paperwork.
sheesh.
And
That's crazy, man.
I'm looking at this stunned. I'm like, all right, I'm kind of like, is this a reality show? Is this a joke? I'm waiting for the cameras to come out. I'm looking around like, am I supposed to break? Am I supposed to stab? Am I supposed to attack this guy? Goes on and on. He's egging me hard, egging me hard. Even at one point when he was just like, "Yeah, you're going to prison tonight. There's no way out of this."
That's
And you know
dude,
what?
that's crazy.
In any natural person's reaction, I tensed up. I'm like, "What are you talking about? I didn't do anything wrong." He's like, "That's what you think." I'm like, I
That's
still don't know what's going on here. And he's like, "Oh, you tense it. You square." And he's like, "You're squaring off. You're squaring off. You want to throw?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?
sheesh.
What are you talking
So
about?"
so with this now, with everything, do you still have your CDL? Are you still driving?
I do still have my CDL, but I'm not this I'm not driving. I'm doing little odds and ends because
You can't have a
literally
job with this. So
this I no bro. I'm on the street. I live with my fiance in a hatchback out on the street. I'm homeless.
you're
I've been
homeless
home.
as of right now?
Yes,
So when did this happen?
this happened August of 2020 last year,
So
and I
last
have
year.
gone back and forth with the court. And I'm not a legal expert, but there's all kinds of legal problems with this. All kinds.
Sheesh.
And
Y-
lawyers that I talk to, here's the problem. When you hear my charges and you don't know my story, anybody can look at that and be like, wow, that's terrible. Because he puts in the charges like,
Right.
this man as a truck driver attempted to kill a police officer, yada yada yada. And you're like, wow, well, those are terrible. You definitely need to serve time for that. You know what I mean? But what about my statement? What about my story? Doesn't exist. Nowhere to be
That's
found.
that's
And
crazy, man.
the lawyers that
So
I talk to is they don't want to hear me. They look at the charges and like, all right, cool. Well, up front, 10,000. I've been calling off and on over the months, and I had a guy 2 weeks ago quote me $35,000,
you
and
know
I had
what?
to go.
Let me reach out to my people and let me see what I can do for you, bro. You know what I mean? You know, I'm gonna check this out. I'm gonna reach it to my guy, and then I'll let you know. I'll keep half of this on recording, half not.